In several previous videos, I shared my tips on how to unlock all of the They Shall Not Pass guns, as well as the level 10 weapon variants, including the Martini Henry Sniper and the Hellriegel Defensive. If you haven't seen those videos, I'll post links to them down in the description below. Recently, I received a comment from a gamer named Hello, who asked, "Are you planning on doing a guide for the Selbstlader 1906 sniper rifle?" Of course, that's why I've uploaded this video here, because I'm going to once again share my tips for quickly unlocking an achievement locked weapon, and this weapon is the Selbstlader 1906 sniper variant. Being that the Selbstlader 1906 factory is arguably one of the least often used medic rifles, and many players call it, quote, one of the worst guns in Battlefield 1, you might ask yourself, is unlocking this weapon's sniper variant worth the grind? Well, if you had that question, and if you want to unlock the Selbstlader 1906 faster, you've come to the right place. Let's get down to business. In order to unlock the Selbstlader 1906 sniper variant, you must reach medic level 10 and unlock the Selbstlader 1906 factory rifle. Then you must use the factory rifle to obtain 300 kills and perform 25 kills with the rifle grenades. Sounds easy, right? It's not, but the hard work and steady grind is worth it in my opinion, as the Selbstlader sniper variant features a high-powered scope and a bipod. The scope can be adjusted for alternate zoom sensitivity levels, and the scope does prove to be quite useful, as the factory iron sights are, in my opinion, pretty bad. Being that the weapon can decimate the enemy with 3 shots from any distance, a scope makes long distance engagements easier to manage. Now that being said, the grind is worth it. A couple things you should keep in mind though. If you have an aggressive playstyle like me and you enjoy rushing into the enemy players, don't plan on playing this way with this Selbstlader factory equipped. The Selbstlader factory, with only 5 rounds and an agonizingly long reload animation, is no aggressive multiple enemy engagement weapon. Your best means of success when using this weapon is to keep your engagements 1 versus 1. Try your best to pick off enemies at medium to long distance. The Selbstlader 1906 factory can kill in 3 shots at any distance, and it has one of the highest rates of fire out of the medic rifles. One thing to keep in mind when using this rifle is the reload time is absurd. If you attempt to reload while the weapon still has a round or more in the magazine, you will be met with a reload animation of each bullet being inserted into the rifle, followed by a racking of the rifle, which looks cool but can be a source of frustration because you cannot fire the weapon until the animation is completed. In order to greatly increase the reload time and keep that animation short, only reload the Selbstlader when it's completely dry. I found that firing my extra rounds to clear the rifle and then reloading made a significant improvement in my reload time. As for aiming with the Selbstlader 1906 factory, the stock sights leave much to be desired. I found that since the rifle itself appears to have a good distance between the front and rear sight, keeping the zoom sensitivity at 1 allowed me to acquire my sight picture and sight alignment much faster. Having 2 times zoom sensitivity appeared to add an unsteadiness to the front sight and caused me a longer time to acquire my sights, especially when these enemies were moving pretty quickly. That being said, I highly recommend you keep the weapon zoom sensitivity at 1. In order to get the Selbstlader factory kills faster, I found that the game modes domination and team deathmatch proved good for keeping the enemy close without the fear of vehicle attacks. However, they yielded too much time between kills since the player count per server is low. During the game modes Frontlines and Conquest, I found I gathered the best numbers of Selbstlader kills because of the higher player count and combined player groupings at objectives. This is why I highly recommend playing Frontlines or Conquest when attempting to unlock this weapon faster. This way you should gather more kills and get that unlock faster than you expected. I spent a lot of time in Team Deathmatch and a lot of time in Domination, and I really wished I hadn't at this time because I think it was time wasted. Keep in mind that medium-sized maps with long stretches or straightaways between yourself and the enemy are most useful. I highly recommend, and I mean highly recommend, playing on the map Fort Vaux. The long corridors and tight groupings of enemies prove to make the use of the Selbstlader much easier. Keep in mind that whatever map you play on, if you have the ability to play defense with this weapon, take advantage and play that defense. Stay behind cover as much as possible and pick off unsuspecting enemies as they focus on the objective. If you can pick off enemies at distance, even better, because enemies will try to close the distance and get close to you if they notice you're using the Selbstlader. The long reload and 5 rounds work in their favor if you miss your shots, and many players are well aware of your handicap. Those of you on console might have an easier time completing the challenge and unlocking the Selbstlader sniper due to aim assist. Those of us on PC have to keep our aim on point. If you have trouble aiming, this achievement will be difficult. In order to increase your aim and accuracy with this weapon, try not to move while shooting. It can be difficult at times, but with the low vertical recoil and fast fire rate, the accuracy with the weapon can be taken advantage of if your feet are planted firmly on the ground while you're firing. I also found that leading shots often proved useful when firing at enemies moving across the map. And again, I can't stress it enough, keep that zoom sensitivity at 1, because when you pull in your sights, having to adjust to see where that front sight is kind of takes a little bit of time away from when you're shooting, and with only 5 rounds, your time is limited. Another quick tip with the Selbstlader, there are often times you're going to find yourself surrounded by enemies or in a hostile situation where close quarters this weapon does not shine. So you want to leave the bayonet on so you can bayonet charge and quickly run away from the area, so you can then turn around, assess where you need to attack, and at least you've gotten yourself quickly to safety and out of harm's way. As for the 25 rifle grenade kills, this is the easiest and the fun part that I found with this challenge. Your first step upon joining a server if you're playing alone should be to join a squad with a support player. This way the supporting teammate can keep the ammo coming and your rifle grenades at the ready. Stick to game modes where players tend to bunch up, such as operations or front lines, and players in bunkers or buildings can be good targets for a well-placed rifle grenade. Another game mode that is quite beneficial is rush mode. When you notice enemies planting charges at the capture point, fire grenades at the cap point to guarantee at least a couple frags. When you fire at groups of enemies, keep in mind there is a delay upon firing the grenade. I often found myself shooting the grenade at walls in order to hope it would ricochet and land in the enemy's hands to counter that delay of time. Also, you should lead moving enemies and fire ahead of their path of direction to counter the delayed explosion. I hope these few tips helped you guys unlock the Selbstlader sniper variant quicker. As I'm using the sniper variant, the grind was well worth it, but I had such a hard time trying to find what methods would work best. This weapon is very frustrating because you have a very limited amount of rounds and the damage rate isn't really high. You're going to definitely need, unless you're getting headshots, you're going to need 3 shots per enemy player. So it was a matter of frustration with this gun, because there's oftentimes with my playstyle that I'd go out there trying to take out the enemy and trying to take out multiple enemies, but these few steps that I gave you guys are the things that I learned and the things that I had to change with my gameplay style while using this weapon. So it's your boy Rump, guys. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. Good luck unlocking this weapon, and as always, I'm gonna drop 2 videos for you guys. Hit that subscribe button. I'm out of here.